Okay, hi Samantha, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Nice to have you here. So, where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm in beautiful West Trenton, New Jersey, where the Read Furiously office is located.
Ah, beautiful New Jersey. Okay, all right. Are you getting spring weather at all?
I don't know. New Jersey doesn't really have any real weather anymore. We had really nice warm weather, and now there's wind battering the window as I speak,
Oh,
and some
okay.
rain coming down. So.
You've got a couple of books I see that we're going to be promoting. Before we get to your books, give us a little bit of your backstory. What are you a full-time author or do you do something else?
I'm an author publisher. So I'm co publisher of Read Furiously Publishing, which is a traditional small press publishing house. We publish multiple, about 4 to 6 titles a year, and some of them, if I'm lucky enough to sit down and write, some of them I'm lucky to say are mine. But usually it's through a lot of talented authors that we work with. I also am an adjunct professor at the College of New Jersey, where I teach freshman seminar writing. So I've had a lot of different writing kind of experiences throughout the years. I started wanting to be a journalist. And then when I graduated in 2006 with my undergrad, the recession was hitting, and the newspaper I was signed on to have my first real kind of grown up job folded. So so I bounced around different writing professions, and this is where I ended up.
Okay, so you said that you run a publishing company. Is this a hybrid publishing, would you call it?
No, it's traditional. So we started originally publishing just other people's work, and just trying to kind of have a mix of different genres. And over the years, we've kind of adapted to include long form, but we also have a New Jersey anthology, which I co-edit, which is a kind of a collection of everybody writing about New Jersey, and our One and Done series, which is almost like an anthology series, but it's short little stories you can read in one sitting if you have the time, or just kind of carry it with you. And those are also, but with different authors, and sometimes I contribute, which is the books that I would be talking about today are part of the One and Done series.
Do you just accept cold submissions from people? Yeah.
We do. We have different submission schedules. So if you go to our site now, we're looking for the New Jersey Anthology and the One and Done series. But when we do have that time on our calendar, I do open it up for just cold submissions for long form poetry, graphic novels, short story collections, nonfiction.
Well, the two books that I see on here are called The Legend of Dave Bradley and Wine and Cheese spelled with an H and one E missing in
Yeah,
cheese, right? Is that
yeah,
correct? All right.
yeah.
Well, I have no idea what these are about. So why don't you explain them?
They're part of the One and Done series. So they're not really novellas, but they're more of a play on form. So it's a combination of novellas and short story. So they can be read kind of in pieces. They're no more than 20,000 words. The Legend of Dave Bradley was the first one. It was in our original conception for the series, and when we reduced it to pocket size, which so they're about 4 by 6, they fit in your pocket. Um, I wanted to kind of revamp the story. So, The Legend of Dave Bradley, I say I've been writing it for 20 years because I wrote it in a fiction workshop where it was led by the amazingly talented Dan Pope, who kind of encouraged us to take a lot of risks and kind of really kind of go off the rails with our writing. And so, Legend of Dave Bradley was born out of that. And it's me trying to exercise the demons that I've collected while working in customer service over the years. It takes place at a Jersey Shore grocery store, and one customer's reign of chaos that borders on chaotic and confusing. And so the entire story is about the employee's obsession with Dave Bradley and the havoc that he kind of brings to the grocery store. So it's kind of for anyone who understands that horror of customer service. That's kind of who the book is for.
Well, yeah, I've worked customer service before, and it's very easy to acquire demons working in that
Yes.
industry. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So Dave Bradley is How would you describe him? An irate customer?
Yes, he's definitely irate at times. He's also kind of that customer that, he shoplifts, he knocks over, displays. He just kind of makes a scene. And what's interesting in this story is that the employees are very much obsessed when he comes in, and so they almost kind of expect him to behave badly, and he does, which makes them very happy. But then when he doesn't come in, it's almost like they don't know what to do with themselves. And it kind of really shows like that push and pull of, customer service, especially I've learned when I worked in a grocery store, can be very monotonous at times when it's not busy. And so you really do have to kind of make your own fun while you're there. And so Dave Bradley's kind of that stand-in for, they almost kind of embrace the chaos and they expect it. And then as the story continues, everyone starts to get older and nobody is as chaotic as they used to be. Nobody is making a mess as they used to be. And the characters have to kind of come to terms with that you can't always have Dave Bradley around forever.
I assume this is a comedy.
It is. It is at times. If you work in customer service, it might not be funny in all the parts, because it is kind of pulled from different experiences where some days you just don't want to deal with it. But yes, it is a comedy. It's told in a way to just kind of play with it a little bit and make it, I don't know, just kind of make it fun to kind of show that there's these found families that are also, when you're working in an environment where it's very high stress and there's a lot of customers kind of, complaining about the silliest things, you do tend to lean on each other a bit more. So it definitely has a comedic appeal to it. And then there's also that found family connection of leaning on each other when it gets very, very stressful.
Is Dave Bradley a real character or sort of a composite character of the classic bad customer?
He's definitely a composite. I've written this so many times. It's taken so many forms. I don't even remember the customer that I had originally based Dave Bradley on at this point. It's just a collection of everything. Because I've worked in grocery stores, I've worked in bookstores, I've worked as a receptionist in certain places. So there's all a bunch of customers that kind of come out of this.
Well, grocery store has got to be one of the worst in the sense that the people that are going to come in there are going to come in there a lot. And you're going to see the same faces over and over, the people who live in that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was so I played off of the Jersey Shore grocery stores where it is a combination of the regulars that come in during the slow seasons, and then in the summer it's just a mix of tourists and regulars, and it really does kind of resemble that kind of busyness that comes from people who aren't familiar with the area, who aren't familiar with almost like the unspoken rules that the regulars have set up with the employees. And it is something that my parents used to live in a beach town. So this is something that I saw regularly growing up, that, that the change in environment and vibe when the tourists would come in, because everything would start to kind of revolve around them, because that's where the economy would pick up at that point.
So tell us a little about Wine and Cheese. Is this related at all to the Dave Bradley?
No, it definitely plays with the idea of youth and kind of looking back on things, but this is more of a campus kind of story. I've been teaching for about 15 years on different college campuses. So this is kind of a collection of what I've experienced with my own students and also with my college experiences. So the wine and how it's spelled, like wine, and then whining, like complaining, that definitely is something that when I was in college, I was not very sociable. I was not very good at talking to people. So when we'd get to parties, I would immediately start complaining that I wanted to go. But it's also kind of, the cover are these broken red Solo cups. And it's kind of also, again, that play of when you're in college, all you want to do is be an adult. All you want to do is kind of mimic that adult behavior. And so I thought, what would be something that college students would think is very adult, but also when they put it together, they would fail miserably in creating that adult persona. And I thought a really poorly planned wine and cheese party. And so that's kind of the entire focus of the story.
Okay, is there a particular character in it, or is it more of anecdotes of the
This
wine and
one has a
cheese?
particular character. Yeah. Ainsley is the main character, and she kind of suffers this really humiliating breakup at the beginning of the book. And her roommates think it would be a good idea to take her to this really bad wine and cheese party. And of course, all of these things go wrong. And it's a conversation of, just kind of enjoying those moments, because as I tell my students, when you leave college, that's it. You don't get that kind of, safe, kind of college world. Like, real world's there. And if you spend so much time worrying about it, you're going to miss out on it. And so that's kind of the whole premise of the story, is instead of focusing on this one negative thing that happens at the beginning of the book, the character kind of learns that you can kind of enjoy all the possibilities that are still out there.
Well, why do you think college is such a isolated environment to what the real world is like? It shouldn't be. It should be the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it also has to do with the fact that colleges are their own little bubbles. That's a kind of a big thing. Like, college students, unless they make a point or they know somebody at neighboring colleges, they don't interact with other colleges. They interact with just everybody, especially if you live on campus. You interact with you eat at the same places, you see the same people all the time, you go to the same buildings for classes. And I do think it has to also do with the fact that they're away from home, and that's already such a big jump, that the idea of doing any other bigger jumps at this time feels a little bit intimidating. And also with college students, they go to classes and they're very poor with time management. So a lot of things take up a lot of time for a really, really long time. So I have students who say, oh, you told me this homework was only going to take 20 minutes. It took me 6 hours. And so I think that also helps with the isolation, is not quite understanding how to plan out your day. So you kind of lose these hours without meaning to.
We've got just a couple of minutes, and I want to touch on something that you mentioned at the beginning. You said something called seminar writing, and I don't know what that is. What is that?
That's the college class that you're forced to take for general education requirement. So you do not choose this. You do not, this is not something that you are excited to take. Seminar writing, the way we do it at the college where I work, the students are expected to produce so many pages of written work using different rhetorical strategies. So it's kind of like the first type of writing you would ever do in college. And the point of it, what we hope we accomplish, is that when they finish the class in 15 weeks, they can kind of write in any discipline. I mean, obviously it takes time to do that, but that's kind of the starting point of it. So seminar writing it's just a class where that's all we do. They read and they write. So it's very, very intensive.
So you mean like write in what? First person, third person, journalistic, fiction,
Yep.
nonfiction? Oh, I see. So you just,
Yeah. Argumentative, library research. So working with sources. Yeah. Anything you can think of that has to do with any form of professional or academic writing, we cover that, or try to cover it in some way so they get a little bit of practice.
so The Legend of Dave Bradley and Wine and Cheese, are they? Oh, I see. Wine and Cheese won't be out till July. Is Legend of Dave Bradley, is that out now?
It's out. Yeah. It's been out. I think about a year it came out, or maybe almost 2 years at this point. Everything kind of runs together. I have so many deadlines from other authors. I can remember everybody else's, just not mine. But yes, Legend of Dave Bradley, like all of our books, are available wherever books are sold. So
Okay. Have you gotten any good reviews on it?
that's a good question. I feel like I might have a couple where some people have just said it's very funny. I know we did the library thing early on before it came out. And I think one of the greatest compliments I received, somebody said, oh, this could be a stand-up comedy act. And I am definitely not funny enough to be a stand-up comedian. So I thought, oh, wow, that's that's a nice compliment, that it could be funny for that. And someone else has compared it to other like workplace comedies like The Office, which was also a very nice compliment, since I do enjoy that show a lot.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking it would be not necessarily, it's too long for a stand-up routine, but it could make a good sort of sitcom,
Yeah.
you know, that takes
Yeah.
place in a grocery store.
And I think about that too. I always think of that show Superstore that took place it's supposed to be like the Walmart type thing. And so I feel like this is something people would connect with. I did get my early start writing screenplays. So I feel like maybe that's also probably why it reads that way, because no matter what I do, I can't stop writing in that screen format.
Yeah, it is different. I've written a couple screenplays myself, and it's a complete shift of gears because it's
Yes,
just
yes, but
it's the
dialogue is so fun.
absence. Yeah, it's the absence of words rather
Yeah.
than the embellishment. And yeah. Well, Samantha, we got to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. It's just readfuriously.com. That's the website that has all of my information on it and also all the things we're working on. I update the blog for that, and I kind of run all the other things that are happening with the publishing company. So I just kind of embed my own work. And we have other parts of the One and Done series coming out as well. So if you're interested in that concept, there's more about that series on that webpage.
Okay, readfuriously.com, you said?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. It was nice meeting you and talking to you.
You. It was so nice meeting you. I really appreciate being here.
Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.